I'm enjoying this harvest very much, especially given the fact that it's free. Free food. All right, what do you think? What do you think is going to be attached to this? You think we're going to get much of anything? Guten Yardening, everybody! Well, this is a harvest video we've been waiting months to do. When we first discovered that we had volunteer potatoes growing, and we did a little video on that to talk about how these potatoes we had missed in our last big potato harvest last year here in Zone 5, Wisconsin, and we had potatoes in the ground that survived the winter, and we wanted to see what would happen if we let those volunteer potatoes fully develop. Now, we decided to transplant some of them to see if we'd get better results from those, and then we left others in the ground. So this video today is actually a two-part harvest. The first part taking place about a month ago, and the second part taking place earlier this week. And so the first harvest you're going to see is of our transplanted volunteer potatoes that we grew in grow bags, and the second part of the harvest is the ones we left in the ground. So which one's going to perform better, and is this something that's worthwhile to let these volunteer potatoes grow? Well, you be the judge. Well, it's August 15th, and I want to give you an update on our volunteer potatoes because the ones that are still in the ground are currently surrounded by our winter squash, but they're still alive, they're still growing. And one of the things we speculated about was if we transplanted some of these, would we get better results? Well, these are our transplants, and as you can see, this one in particular has died the whole way back. So I'm gonna harvest this today. And while this one looks like it has a little bit of green left on it, we have one in here that's completely dead and has been dead for a while, and I don't want any rotting to occur. So I'm gonna harvest both of these, even though I'm not going to harvest the other volunteers. All right, let's get this bag of volunteer potatoes over into our container here so we can see what we've got. All right, let's see. Oh, let's see what we got in here. I have no idea. Oh, I can see some of them popping out on the side. Oh, all right. Let's take a look here. So we have two varieties in here. We have our Norland Red and some Yukon Golds. All right, let's get these out of here. That's a nice sized potato. Again, for the volunteer potatoes, we really aren't sure what it is that we're going to get, and so if they're going to be of any substantial size at all. Remember, these are coming from plants that we missed last season that survived the winter. Now, since we can't really compare potatoes to potatoes in terms of the ones that we're going to be harvesting later, the ones that we left in the ground, since we can't really compare them in terms of the number, because we don't know exactly how many were left in the ground, what we can do, oh, here we go, is we can try to compare size of the potatoes. Take a look at that. That is a perfect potato. That's an awesome Norland Red. Well, we can compare size to see how many of the larger potatoes we get from transplanting versus the ones that we left in the ground. Well, so far, oh look, there's another nice one right there. So far, I have to say, I'm not displeased by this harvest at all. I mean, I'll pull these up over here as well. These are our Norland Reds. I mean, that's a pretty good size. Take a look at this. What's this? Here we go. All right. There's some more. Well, you know, early on, I did a short, and I actually never showed it. I never released it, where I looked at some of the little potatoes that were emerging when we first dug up these volunteer potatoes to see, you know, that there was going to be some production. We knew that. And you can see there's still some in here, some of the smaller ones here. But we could see that there was going to be production. Again, we just didn't know how much. All right. Yeah, I mean, I have to say, every time I pull another one out, you know, seeing what we're getting in terms of size, I'm well pleased. Now, one thing I can say about this, though, is that it looks like our Yukon Gold, oh, there's some more. Our Yukon Gold did not perform as well. All right, let's take a look at our potato harvest from this first volunteer potato grow bag that we had. Here are our Norland Reds. You can see them right here, a few small ones. And then here are our, oh, there's another one. Here are our Yukon Golds. Again, size-wise, the Yukon Gold doesn't really compare well, but hey, it's free potatoes that we didn't even have to plant. All right, let's go ahead and check out that other bag, and then we'll get a weight on everything. All right, let's go ahead and harvest the second bag. Let's see what we got down in here. All right, let's open this up and see what's there to see. Oh, there we go, a little Norland red. There we go, a bigger Norland red. Just open it wide open here. Oh, there we go, popping out of the side. There's another Norland. So it looks like this one is just Norland reds, which is, oh, here we go. All right, look at this. Immediately this nice handful of potatoes. That's excellent. All right, I'm gonna pull at the plant here so we can see there's not really, compared to the other one, there's not really any small potatoes left on here. So, you know, unless it was gonna get a little bit bigger, maybe these would have grown a little bit more, but I'm not really thinking so. There we go. All right, I think there's some more potatoes down in here, what I'm feeling. Yep, there we go. Look at this. Excellent size. And a few more. There we go. All right, well, this little bag really produced well for us, in my opinion. So this was just the Norland reds, but again, I think I got everything out of this. Really easy to harvest from a 3-gallon grow bag. This harvest actually compares really well to the much bigger grow bag. So, all right, for our grow bags, I've picked out the biggest Norland red, and it's about 3 inches in length. And I'm gonna get a weight on this. And it's fairly consistently about 2.5 to 3 inches for a lot of these Norland reds. So that's a really good sign. In terms of our Yukon Gold, the biggest one is just over 2.5 inches. And I'll get a weight on this as well. Again, it's not really an average weight for this one, but I want to try to do as best a comparison as I can in terms of average size. All right, let's get a weight on this 3-inch potato. Just hold it in the bucket here and give it a weight. And we've got 0.33 pounds. Let's actually do this in ounces. So we have 5.4 ounces. And then we'll do the same thing here. We're gonna weigh our Yukon Gold. And here's our first Yukon Gold. It's right in at 3.2 ounces. Now we're gonna get a weight for this entire harvest. All right, here we go. We are tared out, so we got that minus weight on there. Let's go ahead and get a full weight. We're gonna do this in both ounces and pounds. So we got 63.1 ounces, and let's get this over to pounds. Well, 1.79 kilograms, or 3.94, almost 4 pounds of volunteer potatoes. All right, the next time I check in with you is gonna be when the ones in the ground are ready to harvest. All right, it's now September 6th, and we're moving on to putting some of our fall garden plants in place. And so these volunteer potatoes, while there is still lots of green life left on top, they're ready to come out. We're gonna go ahead and dig them out, and we're gonna see if that difference of a couple of weeks in leaving them in the ground really did pay off. I'll tell you another thing I saw just as I pulled back these greens to be ready to try to harvest, and that is, well, right here popping through the surface, we have a couple of potatoes. Now, I hadn't really been looking underneath here too much, but you can see this green substance on top of here, and that is our solanine. That's something that happens when the potatoes are exposed to sunlight. And if you eat too much of this, really, it's not healthy for you. It can cause all manner of upset stomach, among other things. So it's not healthy. You definitely want to come in here and cover with hay or straw or mulch when these are growing up, so that you might actually see something popping through the surface, because that's not something you want to do. You don't want to waste potatoes that way. All right, let's get these greens cut back. Now I could see, based on those potatoes that have made their way to the surface, and you can see a few more of them here, that this variety that we have in here is our Yukon Gold. So a couple of smaller ones here. Again, our goal is to see if these on average were bigger. So let's see what happens. Now this soil is pretty dry, so let's see what happens when I try to pull this up Well, when I try to pull this up, everything detaches, which is kind of what I expected. So that means we're going to have to do some digging inside here to see what's actually below the surface, what came off of these roots. Well, that'll make the discovery even more exciting. Well, here we go. A couple of them down in there. Oh, and we're seeing, I think this one was actually up toward the surface as well. And this is one of the things you got to avoid too with potatoes. Even if you wait too long, the newer potatoes are starting to sprout again. So this is too far along. First of all, it's got the solanine, but secondly, if it's sprouting like this already, it's not going to have any kind of shelf life to it. And so that's something we want to avoid. You don't want to leave those potatoes on too long. Well, I hate to use one of these to dig these up, but it's pretty dry in here. It's pretty solid. I'm going to try to do a better job of digging around the other one so I can see if I can pull up the other ones a little bit better, maybe a little bit easier. But yeah, you can see this is pretty firm ground right in here. But we'll soon see what kind of potatoes there are beneath here, what's really developed. Now in the comments, one of the things we saw was that people were often disappointed. Oh, there we go. We're disappointed with the size and the results of their potatoes that volunteered if they had ever had them. Well, this isn't so bad. It's a nice, it's a little bit odd shaped, but that is a nice potato, nice sized potato. We'll see if, you know, clearly I thought I was really impressed with the container ones in terms of the average size. We'll see if this does something similar. All right. Oh, okay. Well, I can already tell you one of the things I'm noticing on here. This is a really nice size. It's actually bigger, I think, than just about anything is in terms of the Yukon Gold that we harvested elsewhere. But just like the last time we planted in here, one of the things we saw was some of that potato scab, and I can see that on here as well. And I've read that the potato scab can live in the soil for quite a few years, and we didn't intentionally plant potatoes in here this time around, and I'm seeing that same issue, so that might be something we have to figure out. But what I can say is, wow, the size of the potatoes in here are definitely, well, we'll see, this is early on, but definitely a little bit bigger in terms of our Yukon Golds than the ones that we transplanted. Those are nice size. Gotta be really careful. Oh, there we go. Yeah, these are nice. So with the potato scab, I don't know if it's actually harmful for you to eat, but we typically peel any potatoes that have the scab on them. So even though we grew the potatoes, we know they're organic. Oh, wow. And they've got great size to them. We're still gonna peel these. Wow. Yeah, these are definitely bigger on average than the ones that we harvested out of the container for our Yukon Golds. Look at those. Oh, why I don't like having this spade in here. I thought I was over far enough. Well, we have to eat this one right away. Well, that's not a bad problem to have, is it? Having to eat your potatoes. All right, let's see. Let's see if there's anything else down in here that we are missing. Now you're seeing potatoes probably coming up on the side here, but that again is from the plant on the other side of this trellising, so I'm gonna not harvest those yet. I'll get them when I get to the other side. If I leave something behind, I guess we'll know about it next season, huh? I gotta figure out which of these are which because we have our Ruth Stout right beside here. I don't want to cut any of those off. And one of the other things is we have a good many potato berries on here, and I want to collect these. So we're gonna do some experiments with them this winter. And I want to keep track of which varieties we have. I really don't think I'm going to be able to dig in here too much without causing some problems, but that was one of our concerns. You know, a volunteer potato that we didn't plant, is it going to actually produce anything? I'm enjoying this harvest very much, especially given the fact that it's free food. All right, I don't really think I'm going to be able to get underneath here, so I'm just going to slowly, oh, it's coming up, slowly pull this up. All right, what do you think? What do you think is going to be attached to this? You think we're going to get much of anything? Here we go. Try to get it all at once. Stay attached. Oh, I can hear them unattaching. I can hear them detaching. Well, we kept some of it. All right. Kept some of them attached. That's not too bad. Here's our mother, our seed potato right there. The one we left behind. You know, if you looked at the root system for our Magic Molly purple potatoes and compare it to this, we did not add that mycorrhizal. And I mean, this is a substantial difference. There's really not nearly as much root structure. I wonder if that would have made a difference. Obviously, we again didn't know, we didn't intentionally plant this, but still, I wonder if that would have made a difference. There we go. Oh, these two look to be attached. Oh, that's one. That's one potato. I wasn't sure about that one. Looked like it was two of them attached somehow, but that is, yeah, that's one potato. Oh, that looks like a duck. Oh, it's big. Whoa. Whoa, that's got to be our biggest potato down in there so far. Oh, and it looks like I got it with the spade. That is unfortunate. It's the deepest potato for sure. And there's another one right beside it. That's a nice size too. Well, these are, I mean, it's definitely bearing out the idea that transplanting them kept them from getting potato scab. But transplanting them also seems, from what I'm seeing here, seems to have cost them some of the size that we would have gotten like we did here. All right, so far from those couple of plants, these are the potatoes that we have harvested. It's a pretty good return here on a zero investment. Now I'm going to move a little farther down because we also have another volunteer that came up down about halfway. Well, I guess we won't be able to see a very good comparison between our Norland Reds in ground and transplanted, because it looks like, from what I see popping above the surface here, that this is actually going to be more of our Yukon Gold. What can I do? I'm going to smooth away the surface first. Oh, there we go. Yeah, some nice size. Yeah, this is the way to go. I mean, if we're going to have volunteer potatoes, I mean, leaving them in the ground, the benefit there seems to be size. I mean, we're getting some really consistent and nice sizes. I'll do a measurement just like I did for the other ones so we can see. But I would say that's one benefit. The downside is definitely ease of harvest. There we go. I mean, digging in the ground here, I obviously didn't have to do that for the container. There would have been no reason to have to dig around. I could just use my hands. But, you know, it's sort of like the question, what do you have space for? And then which benefit do you think outweighs the other? All right, here we go. Oh, some more oddly shaped ones. It looks like a stacking doll, a matryoshka doll, if you know what those are. But look at that. That is quite lovely. I can't wait to show you this whole harvest when I put it all together. There we go. Yeah, we don't want to miss you. I think it's actually a little bit easier to see when it's laid out like this. So I'm going to pick what I think is the biggest potato on here in terms of size, and we're going to go ahead and get a measurement. All right, it looks like this one is just over maybe 4 1/4 inches long, and so, you know, at somewhere between 10 and 11 centimeters, that's bigger than our other harvest. And we're teared out here, so I'm going to put this into our blue container, and just like before, we're going to get a weight. And it looks like the weight on this is going to be 0.46 pounds. And let's move that over to ounces. 7.4 ounces. So we've got a 7.4 ounce potato as our heaviest, which is really nice. Now I would say, and this is that largest potato there, if we put it and look at it across the spectrum here in comparison, it's definitely on the large side. I would say that most of these potatoes are probably 4 or 5 ounces, but it's a good size. Look at the consistency in performance. Now I'm going to gather all of these up because, of course, we need an overall weight for this harvest. Well, just like before, we've got our tiered weight. We're going to get a full weight on here. We're going to do it in ounces. We'll show you the kilograms and the pounds, so we'll see what your preference is. All right, here we go. In ounces, this harvest comes to set this down, 135.5 ounces, or 3.84 kilograms, or 8 12.47 pounds. That means we got over 12 pounds, basically 12 and a half pounds of potatoes, organic, delicious potatoes from our volunteer plants. Well, I think there are a couple of things we have to keep in mind as we're thinking about this harvest. First of all, we're fortunate enough that we left a few potatoes in there and got to experience volunteer potatoes for the first time. And I would say we're doubly fortunate that we got over 12 pounds of potatoes from that harvest. And so we learned a little bit this time around. These in-ground aren't really limited in their space that they have to spread out, so there's that as well. And quite frankly, the one big downside, in my opinion, is the potato scab. And so that's something that we have to deal with that you probably won't have to deal with. You know, I don't mind digging around a little bit and having to work for the potatoes, because when you're digging for gold like this, well, the end result is very much worth it. So I think overall our recommendation would be, for size, go with leaving them in ground, but definitely let any volunteer potatoes that you have grow, because the results, at least from our experience, are fantastic. We're just super excited for this harvest. Well, we hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to give us a like, leave us a comment, remember to share and subscribe, and most importantly, remember, when you're with us, you are good to grow.